With ceasefire talks now collapsed and fresh US air assets suddenly arriving, is war quietly sliding back onto the table as the next move? As speculation swirls over the safety of senior Iranian officials, is Washington preparing options that go far beyond diplomatic pressure? While leaders trade statements, are Pentagon war assets quietly creeping closer to Iran's borders, tightening the military noose? When open-source trackers start flagging masses of US warplanes streaming toward the Gulf, is that a rehearsal or the prelude to new strikes? With dozens of US refueling jets now huddling in Israel, are we looking at routine positioning, or a signal that long-range strikes on Iran may be imminent? As the Islamabad talks collapse without a breakthrough, US war assets appear to be rushing back into the Middle East, stoking fresh fears of another strike wave. On April 12, Vice President Vance confirmed the talks had ended with no deal, marking an open diplomatic deadlock between Washington and Tehran. Around the same time, open-source flight tracking began recording large numbers of US military aircraft heading toward the wider Middle East theater. Just hours later, dozens of American refueling aircraft were reported parked at Israel's Ben Gurion airport, signaling a rapid forward buildup. These tankers exist to keep fighters and bombers in the air, enabling long-range missions deep inside hostile territory if called upon. Ben Gurion, near Lod, is the main air gateway to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and in any crisis it doubles as a critical logistics hub for Allied forces. This sudden build-up comes as regional tensions climb and questions grow over whether the US-Iran confrontation is about to enter a new phase. Interestingly, the warplanes' arrival coincides with mounting speculation about the safety of key Iranian leaders, adding another layer of mystery over what might come next. Social media erupted with concern over the safety of senior Tehran officials after the high-stakes US-Iran talks in Islamabad collapsed without an agreement. Online users speculated about potential assassination plots targeting Iranian delegates during and after the meeting, amplifying fears about their security. Unverified claims circulated that extra security measures, including the use of decoy aircraft, were deployed to shield top Iranian negotiators from possible attacks. This wave of speculation followed similar warnings from Iran's foreign ministry, which had already condemned what it called open incitement against its leaders. On April 11th, as the talks got underway, ministry spokesperson Esmail Baqiei highlighted mounting security threats to senior officials participating in the negotiations. Baqiei alleged that elements within US policy and media were openly advocating the killing of Iranian leaders if the peace talks failed. Iran's delegation in Islamabad included Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, underlining the political weight Tehran placed on the talks. As Baqiei voiced these concerns, Iran and the United States ultimately failed to reach a deal despite some 21 hours of intensive negotiations. The rare in-person meeting, the first of its kind in over a decade, had raised hopes of de-escalation before ending in disappointment. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance later said the discussions were held in good faith, but acknowledged they had not produced any agreement. Vance added that Washington had put forward what he called its final and best offer, arguing that Tehran chose not to accept key conditions, particularly on nuclear commitments. Donald Trump, meanwhile, struck a defiant tone, insisting that the United States had already won the conflict by defeating Iran militarily, regardless of whether a deal was reached.
Reports. They've been meeting for many hours, as you probably have noticed. We'll see what happens. Look, regardless, we win. Regardless what happens, we win. We've totally defeated that country. And so let's see what happens. Maybe they make a deal, maybe they don't.
Is it a good sign?
From the standpoint of America, we win. One other thing that's happening is that boats are sailing up and heading out to our country. Big, beautiful tankers, and we're loading them up with oil and gas and everything else, and pretty beautiful thing to see.
What about China, Iran, have you agreed to release Iran's assets in other countries?
We're going to see what happens. We're in very deep negotiations with Iran. We win regardless. We've defeated them militarily. They've dropped a couple of water mines, you call them water mines, in the boat. We've defeated all of their water boats too. Their Navy has gone 158 ships. They have 28 water droppers, mine droppers they call them. All of them are sunk. They probably have a couple of mines in the water. We have mine sweepers out there. We're sweeping the strait. In addition to that, we're negotiating. Whether we make a deal or not makes no difference to me. And the reason is because we've won. Whether you listen to the fake news or not, you know, it's amazing. Their credibility is down to 13%. The media credibility down to 13%. Think of it. We defeated their Navy. We defeated their Air Force. We defeated their anti-aircraft. We defeated their radar. We defeated their leaders. Their leaders are all dead. And now all we do is we'll open up the strait, even though we don't use it, because we have a lot of other countries in the world that do use it that are either afraid or weak or cheap. I don't know what it is, but we were not helped by NATO, that I can tell you. How do you know that? Why do you say that? Why do you say that? You don't know anything. Who are you with? Who are you with? ABC? Well, that's fake news. Let me just tell you, we win, no matter what. We've defeated their military. They have no Navy. 158 ships are underwater, undersea. All of their minesweepers and all of their, they call them mine droppers. Can you imagine? A country has 28 mine droppers. You think that's nice? With all of that being said, they're all defeated, by the way. They're all at the bottom of the sea. Now, with all of that, they have no Navy. They have no radar. They have no Air Force. Their leaders are all dead. Pompeo is gone. For many years, he ruled. He's gone. With all of that, let's see what happens. But from my standpoint, I don't care.
China is preparing to ship weapons to Iran.
Well, if China does that, China's going to have big problems, okay?
Well, good morning, everybody. And let me say a couple of notes of appreciation. First of all, to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts. And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis, who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. Questions?
Sir, Nick Robertson from CNN. Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. Jen.
Was there a framework on anything? And also, did the Iranian frozen assets come up? And did you reach any conclusions on those frozen assets?
We talked about all those issues, Jen, and we talked about a number of issues beyond that. And so certainly those things came up. But again, we just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. Preston.
Mr. Vice President, how often did you communicate with President Trump throughout the negotiations? There were reports that there were multiple rounds, where there were breaks in between negotiations. How often did you communicate with the president throughout those rounds, and what was he saying as you were going through these negotiations that you said fell short?
Yeah, obviously we were talking to the president consistently. I don't know how many times we talked to him, a half dozen times, a dozen times over the past 21 hours. We obviously also talked to Admiral Cooper, to Pete, to Marco, to the entire national security team. We talked to Scott Besson a number of times. So look, we were constantly in communication with the team because we were negotiating in good faith. And we leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it. Thank you.